probably the person I have the most respect for, not only from a strength and conditioning standpoint, but what I think is his real niche, which is nutrition. I met Rob at the Titleist Performance Institute, Rob, probably 16 years ago, 15 years ago. What's
I was thinking about that. That was, 2004?
Yeah, so we're 15. We're going on 16 years.
Yeah.
And I sat with Rob in the nutrition area of TPI, and like I left after I had an hour sit down with him, and my head was spinning. I was literally like on the phone with my fiance, my now wife, sending her to the grocery store, and he's really the one who changed my thinking with. I think I mentioned Paul Chek, but like he's really the one who changed my thinking with organic farming and where things were being sourced, and just really simplify things and made it less about, you got to eat chicken, broccoli, and rice. Like, no, it became so much more. So I attribute an immense amount of success that I've had in the industry because of him. He's one of the first people that I will call if I have to bounce an idea off of, or if I have a supplement question, a nutrition question, like, he's the guy I go to.
What's the last question you asked him?
Probably more stuff on gut health. I mean, you've been diving in so much about gut health and digestion. Yeah. He's also, I've been stealing his line, his BFF. Your BFF is your PFS. So your best friend forever is protein, fat, and fiber. And he's really simplified nutrition to where if you follow his rules, laws, call it what you want, you really won't have the cravings that most people are having in the evening because your blood sugar levels are balanced.
When I wrote my book, I just thought of, okay, I got to figure out something that's simple, especially for golfers, right? That's my first book was written for golfers. And so just something simple that people can remember. And so the protein, fats, and fiber came about, PFF. And I tell people to do that the majority of the time, but like we've talked about, Don, before, it's like I'm not against eating carbohydrates and so forth. It's just the timing of it is what's probably more critical. But what this comes down to mostly is, from the physiological standpoint, is really controlling blood sugar, because at the end of the day, if you can do that, that's going to affect you from a number of standpoints, from your hormone health to your sleep patterns to your gut health. So that's why it's really critical to get just that base and foundation for anybody, whatever their goal is.
The name of that book, was it Hole in One?
Yeah, so luckily I have it right here.
Oh, nice, okay.
Look at you little marketing
oh yeah,
person.
It's a shameless plug.
No, I wanted to know. I wanted to make sure that we got the name right. And so, but the advice in there, you said it's geared more towards golfers, or is it something that people that aren't golfers could also use?
No, I think it is for general non-athletes to an athletic standpoint. Like we were at one of the conferences with Mike Boyle, and he stopped me. He's like, "Hey, Rob," he goes, "that book, it needs to be not named for golf, but just general, nutrition, some basic principles that need to be followed."
I wish he named the book something different. Remember how we have the conversation all the time? We bring guests on, and out of nowhere, you're just sitting here like, speak English. Like, just speak English. Rob makes things so relatable. He's so smart, but he can dumb it down to where he can have a conversation with my 11-year-old, and my 11-year-old would get it. That's what it's about. It's about a level of relatability. And you should have named it something else, because I'm referring this book to everyone, because I'm not a nutritionist, and I don't have a nutrition book out there. And the first thing people say is, well, I'm not a golfer. And I'm like, it doesn't matter.
So
you're killing me.
That's why Zach, I've taken Don's advice. So I'm working on the second book, Running Child. Well, right now, yeah, we're gonna get away from that name, but the second will be Feed Your Game. So
I like that.
And so so be geared more towards general athletic population. And, it'll be the same principles, but for example, one of the things that I really want to try to get across to people is that, it's not just about food, but I'm going to refer to it as the performance triad, which I basically, Don talked about the gut all the time. And then the second part of the triad is hormones. And then the third is sleep. And so I really want to educate people that they're all important and they all interlink together, and how if you can really focus on those things, then you can maximize your results and your performance.
I want to dive into the gut a little bit because this is the one area that I think people just overlook. Can you just start with a really good 101 breakdown for someone who's just maybe hasn't been paying attention to gut health and digestion, et cetera?
Yeah. So, with gut health, usually what we're talking about in the context is the gut microbiome. And basically, your body has these different sort of ecosystems. So you can think of, sort of like, what is it, like Finding Nemo, right? Like he's the clownfish and has a relationship with the sea anemone and that whole sort of thing. And you have that ecosystem within your gut. So, we all of us have anywhere between 3 to 4 pounds of bacteria within our digestive tract at any one time. You have it in your nasal passages, your mouth, all these different areas, your skin. And the reason why, the main reason why I talk about it so much is because I have so many clients that I work with that have a lot of these gut issues. And when we talk about gut issues, we're talking about pretty much really small things. Like I would say 90% of a lot of my gut clients are more female because more females tend to be more in tune with their bodies. Whereas, guys, we fart and burp, belch, and you're like, oh, that's cool, or yeah, that was nasty,
We're all in college again.
or like guys are always joking around like, oh, that whey protein, man, that gave me the best farts, and Zach
does that in his office.
So, but from my perspective, to when people are overly, they have too much gas, or they're belching a lot, or they're noticing, God, like my stomach is protruding much more than usual. I'm not fat, but I'm getting a lot of bloating and distension. Those are little signs that tells me, okay, hey, something's going on in terms of the digestive process somewhere from north to south, where we need to investigate that, look into that. And for some of the elite athletes I work with, some of them are having diarrhea every day, 5 days a week, and they think that's normal. But when I start questioning them, I'm like, hey, that's not normal. It may be common for you, but it's not normal physiological function.
How could you think that that's normal? Like, it's just, like, I don't know. I'd be like, at that, like, day 3, I'd be like, there's something happening. I don't know. Just.
Well, I would say, okay, so some people, that's their norm because that's all they've known.
Okay.
So for example, like constipation, they grew up going every 2 or 3 days. Yeah. So to them, that's their normal.
I see.
I would also back up and say, not even straight up diarrhea, but let's say you have loose stools every day. So it's just sort of like a pile of mush. Mm-hmm. Like I tell people, look, I go, in a perfect world, we want you to have a brown banana in the toilet bowl, easy to pass, every day. That's pretty much ideal. But if you're going to the bathroom, you don't feel fully evacuated, you have a pile of mush, well, there's something going on there where, okay, maybe there's something going on with the digestive process.
So is that how you're able to tell? Is that really what it comes down to? Is it how as your stool looks, or is it if you're not regular? Are those the first signs? That shouldn't be it, right? There's other. What if you do go every day? Does that mean, or if you're, if your stool looks like a brown banana and it's covering all those characteristics, does that mean that you're clean or clear from a digestion issue standpoint, or could there still be issues?
No, there could be other issues. So for example, if someone says, hey, I have depression, or I'm having a lot of anxiety, and obviously there's a lot of factors involved. There could be some, mental, emotional stress and so forth. But if someone tells me, hey, I'm on a SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, antidepressant, usually that tells me, okay, there's some kind of gut issues. Because through all the research that they've done and looking at neurotransmitters and serotonin, they were all found in the gut to begin with. So 98% of your serotonin is found in your gut. So when someone has some type of mood, emotion, I'm not talking, a severe clinical depression, but more of a lesser degree, then that tells me, hey, there's something going on within the gut. Also, fatigue is another one. So if people are saying, hey, I'm starting to get more fatigued than usual, low energy, or, I'm not able to train through my sessions with my training partner, that tells me, hey, there might be something else going on where maybe you're not absorbing your food efficiently, or something else could be going on within the digestive tract.
How do we get to this point? Like, so someone has this issue, are they going to have to just go see a specialist, or is it that they should be looking at things that they're doing? Like, is that what the first book you've written and the second one is going to help them do? Like, take these precautionary steps when they believe they have an issue so they don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it?
Yeah. So basically your question is, who do you go see? Like, if you do have,
who do you go see,
sort
and how do you know if you should go see somebody, or can you do things on your own first and then go see somebody?
Like, I get some severe cases where, they'll go into a gastroenterologist, to a GI doc. And unfortunately, a lot of these people, when you look at them, go, well, you train 3 or 4 times a week, you look healthy, you're young, you shouldn't have these digestive issues. And they're sort of kind of brushed off to the side and say, hey, you don't, there's nothing really wrong with you. Unfortunately, within the GI docs or the medical community, they're looking for the extremes. So they might do an endoscopy or colonoscopy. They're looking for polyps. They're looking for massive things. They're not looking for, the more subtleties. So, that's where I would say I fall into play working with a lot of people and helping them with their digestive issues. And it could be a woman who trains 4 or 5 times a week, eats really well, but at the end of the day, she's 5 months looking pregnant and she's not fat.
Yeah.
They got that bloated look and they're going, this is sort of gotten worse as the months have gone by. A year or two, I was fine, but then I've had these issues going on. And so that tells me that something's going on in regards to maybe they don't have enough digestive enzymes, or maybe they could be not chewing their food enough. Maybe they're eating while they're driving. I mean, that simple stuff like that could be an issue. But at the end of the day, it really starts with basic things. Digestive process, are you eating while you're watching TV or answering emails? That could be part of it. Are you hydrating properly? A lot of people don't drink enough water. So that's a basic foundational thing. I mean, it sounds so, when I say it, it sounds so easy and such a simple process, but if people don't hydrate properly, or maybe they're drinking too much alkaline water, that can disrupt digestion as well, that I found. So that's where people kind of fall into a gray area. And that's where if you do have, either your bowel movements are all over the place, where they're not consistent every day. You're getting the bloating, or you're getting excessive gas where, your other half is telling you to leave the bedroom or whatever. That's not normal. That shouldn't be happening. Like, a little bit of gas is fine, but those are the little things that we're looking at. The other part of it is inflammation. So if someone is, for example, training a lot and they're not recovering the way they should, they're getting the proper neuromuscular therapy, massage, acupuncture, whatever it is, doing all the recovery methods and still not recovering and having inflammatory issues. And that's when I'll delve deeper into the digestive issues.
But how long does it take to correct these? Say somebody does have things that can be done just by, changing their diet around, maybe hydrating more and eating a few more vegetables, we'll say, and like getting rid of some junk. How long until they see that turnaround?
Good question.
Oh yeah, I mean, someone like that's pretty simple. They'll probably notice a difference within about 10 to 14 days.
Okay.
Yeah, unless there's some other underlying issues, then it probably takes a little bit of a more investigative approach on my side.
When you are working on correcting a digestive issue, if they're on your diet throughout the week for say 5-6 days and they're doing exactly what you want, and then they turn around and they're junking out 1 day a week, is that a complete setback?
It depends on the severity. So it's a sort of sliding scale, right? So if you have someone that eats really well 6 days a week and then they junk out on a Sunday, if their digestive issues are not too severe, then they could probably get away with that. There is actually some research showing that when people eat a lot of processed food, they can create a sort of temporary, what we call leaky gut, an inflammatory process. And obviously that depends. I mean, if someone's doing like a 10,000 calorie challenge in a day or something, then, they're going to definitely have some GI disruption, at least for 2-3 days after. But then things just start to normalize. But the bigger, deeper hole that they're in, the less likely I'm going to have them do some kind of junk out day like that. It may be more like maybe a meal or something,
Sure.
Versus a couple meals, during the day, because otherwise they're just going to be hammered, and then their body just doesn't have enough time to recover from that.
I have a question about probiotics. I feel like people throw that term out there as this cure-all for everything.
Right.
Is it just a buzzword? And like, can you kind of help explain what that does in the grand scheme of things, and if it's something that people really need to be paying attention to?
Really good question, Zach. I'm impressed.
Yeah. I mean,
you say that to all the guys.
you're impressing Don today.
Hold my hand. You're just kidding.
I mean, it is a good question because you're right. It is a buzzword. Just like whatever 5 years ago, gluten-free was a buzzword. Anytime the food industry is involved, it's going to be a buzzword. It's going to be a trend. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think you're seeing like cookies with probiotics in them now, and orange juice. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's a time and place for probiotics. Obviously, I would always try to go whole food first. So if you can get it in the form of fermented veggies, kimchi, sauerkraut, that if you can tolerate yogurts, that would be a way to do it. The way that I would recommend using probiotics is the foremost time to use it is if you have to go to antibiotics. So for whatever reason, you get an accident, you got to get surgery, or you just got to take antibiotics, I would say, hey, I would take probiotics right away, because the problem is with antibiotics, it's sort of like just a bomb. There's no deciphering of who gets basically wiped out. Like all the good guys, all the bad guys get wiped out. Like I said before, it's an ecosystem, right? So you do have fungus, you do have good gut flora, you have pathogenic bacteria, but it's whether there's an imbalance. And with the antibiotics, what that does is it basically wipes out everybody. And so the faster that you can input good guys within the digestive tract, the least chance of pathogenic bacteria has a chance to proliferate.
But can it hurt if you're taking a probiotic? If Zach and I are taking one, say, before bed, is there a reason why you shouldn't, or is it just more of a cost thing, like save the money type of thing?
Because we're in wintertime, I would say it is advantageous to do that, because your gut is your immune system.
Right.
So if you can help support that, it is helpful to do that. Now, the dosage is important. So if you're in the context of taking antibiotics for 10 days, I usually recommend upwards towards 100 billion, sometimes up to 300 billion CFUs for that person if they're on the heavy dose of antibiotics. The only time you have that's contraindicated is if someone does have, if they're diagnosed with SIBO, which just stands for small intestinal bowel overgrowth. You have to be careful with that, because that's like pouring gasoline on a fire for someone like that. So if they have bloating, they'll feel like it's 10 times worse when you add in the bacteria. So that's when you don't want to have it in there. And then if you do have a chief complaint of just constantly being bloated all the time and distended, then it's sort of a 50-50. You could try it, and if it makes you better, then go ahead and keep taking it. But if you take it, you're like, holy cow, I'm like 3 times worse, then don't take it. And that's just going to make you worse.
How does, managing stress and prioritizing sleep help improve gut health?
I mean, obviously, sleep will affect everything from, muscle recovery to your energy levels. But one of the things that we do know is when you have the reduced amount of sleep, the levels of IL-6, basically it's just an inflammatory marker, it goes up when you have a lack of sleep, or your volume of sleep goes down. So what that ends up doing is you have basically these inflammatory markers running around more so. And so what that ends up doing is that creates a more inflammatory cascade. And so when that inflammation comes up, that is what the body recognizes and as an internal stressor. Because it should be up and then it should drop down. But when you have a lack of sleep, it tends to be elevated all the time. And then that in turn causes a chronic elevation of cortisol. And then what that ends up doing is, if that's chronically elevated and you're fully stressed out with work and your job and whatever else that's going on, what happens is high levels of cortisol that are chronic, that decreases basically it's called secretory IgA, SIG-A for short. Basically, it's an immunoglobulin that's produced in your body. It's part of your immune system, and that gets depressed as cortisol goes up. So as you get more stressed because no sleep and then other things are going on, that drops your SIG-A. And that SIG-A you can think of as your sort of coast guard of your body. So its job is to tag invaders, viruses, fungus, bacteria, and say, hey, that guy's not supposed to be there. And then your immune system comes in and then gets rid of those guys. But if that guy's down and depressed, that predisposes you to getting viruses, fungal overgrowth, bacterial overgrowth, etc. And so, it's interesting because as I do all these, initial interviews with a lot of clients, there's always usually a cascade, like a crescendo of all these stressful events 6 to 8 months before they see me. And then everything goes downhill after that because the body's in a very suppressed state in regards to their immune system.
So when you hear gut health and brain function, you're referring to two different areas of the body, yet they're so closely related. Can you kind of go into that a little bit? Because I know all of us have suffered from it. Zach and I talk about it sometimes. You might get these crashes, or you're just having a stressful week and you're foggy and you're unable to focus, and you know how we run in the city. I mean, it's not always the best thing for you, but you do what you got to do. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. It's interesting because if you just go into Google and you type in gut brain axis or anything, you'll get tons of either research journals or blogs or articles. And the connection between your brain and your digestive system is the vagus nerve. And that is the communication between your gut and your brain. So oftentimes they're just saying is if your gut is on fire, then your brain's on fire. Like you've heard of, of Dr. Perlmutter, Grain Brain, and all the other things. And so one of the things that's coming out with research is that if your brain is inflamed, then your gut's going to be in turn inflamed. And so that's why we have to look at both. And that's why I said earlier, for example, if someone has some mood disorder or anxiety, depression, or whatever, I'm definitely looking at the gut. Although it's a brain issue and neurotransmitters, I want to know there's probably something going on in regards to the production of neurotransmitters that's being affected. And so, it comes down to simply, let's say, just talk about constipation. Like if you're constipated for 2 or 3 days and your gut's like distended, you got to like unbutton your belt buckle, you feel like crap. You don't feel very good, right? You just don't feel very well. So just a simple example, such as constipation and then leading to distension and bloating, you're like, oh, I feel like crap. And then you're not motivated to go to the gym, or you're not motivated to eat well. And so there's definitely that connection that definitely needs to be addressed. And so sometimes it's kind of like the chicken or the egg. Like, what do you do? Do you address the brain or you address the gut? For me, I don't know at that point. Like for me, I would do some lab tests to determine, okay, well, if you have leaky gut, well, you got leaky brain. So we need to be able to bring the inflammation down in your gut so that ultimately, long run, we can bring the inflammation down in your brain.
It's interesting.
Who's that in the background?
Oh, that's my pup, Gia. Hi, Gia. Say hi.
Hi.
She's probably wondering, like, what are you doing?
Is that Angie?
Yeah. Angie's here in the background somewhere.
Tell it. Hi.
By the way, Don.
Hi, I'm Zach, Angie.
Hi, I can't hear anything.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to get this whole system rigged. That apple pie, you're gonna die. The apple crumb crisp.
We're waiting.
Yeah.
We're waiting.
Right now, I'm working on paleo, grain-free, Lakanto sugar, so it's like low glycemic.
She's so good at
Green apples, like seriously, we could load and chow down.
Yeah.
And the recipe is coming, but I'm just telling you, it's so good.
Angie makes a gluten-free blondie that I named
You with those blondies?
Angie's gluten-free blondies.
Burnett, but
Hands
he's
down,
a-
my favorite healthy dessert ever.
Yep.
ever.
I'd like to try it.
Yeah. So Angie, we really appreciate
I'll hook you
Angie's
up.
sending us a nice Christmas delivery, right? Thank you.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.
Awesome.
Whirl of fun.
Whirl of fun. We're going to introduce you to something right now for the last few minutes of our show.
Yeah, it is the whirl
Rob,
of fun.
we're very happy to be able to include you on this.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
So it is a way for us to get to know you more, also get to know some of the things your likes and dislikes. What we're gonna do is Don is gonna start us off. He's gonna spin this. It's going to land on something, and whatever it lands on, we're gonna just basically just toss it to you, and we're gonna get to know you a little.
5
bit.
questions. What do we do? 5?
Yeah, we do 5.
We're gonna do 5.
All right.
Here we go.
Oh,
Pet peeve.
Okay, a pet peeve. So, what is just something that just irks you? Just that you want to just get out there, and hopefully people will listen to this and just learn it.
People that do not take responsibility.
Okay.
Wow. Very broad, but I like it.
I'll give you quick context. So, my boys, I surf. I have a 16-year-old and a 15-year-old. They both surf. They compete. We're surfing every single day. And so oftentimes it's just with surfing when the waves are really good the last 2 days. And so we were at one of the breaks, and a guy that I had a run-in with 3 years ago still holds a grudge, and he ends up paddling right behind one of my sons and pulls his leash and doesn't allow him to get in the wave.
Oh, man.
Wow.
And then later on in the session, he's dropping in on people and kind of laughing and smiling when they're complaining. And when we first had a run-in, he told me, hey, you dropped in on me or whatever, or you back paddled me. There's all these sort of unwritten rules in surfing that are sort of lame in one way, but it's just the culture and what it is. And this guy, basically what it is, this guy just takes no responsibility in regards to his actions, right? Tells me that I'm doing wrong or whatever, and so it's just one of those things that irks me.
Don showed me some videos of your son surfing. And
Yes.
It's freaking amazing
Yeah,
stuff.
unbelievable. They're both
Thanks,
incredible.
man.
They're both
Appreciate
incredible.
it.
What's your pet peeve?
Anyone who asks me about game changers. Next question.
Which is everybody.
Stop asking me about game changers.
Everybody asks you about that.
Everybody.
It sucks. I don't like it. Leave me alone. That's
Yeah.
as scientific as I'm getting.
Although you when you do eventually come out with it when they ask you, but it is kind of a little bit of pulling teeth. Like you can see just a little bit of your soul kind of just go away. I don't know. I don't really care.
I love when you say that. I don't really care.
I just don't.
Notice how he didn't even add his 2 cents. He's like, next question,
I
please.
know. So, Oscar speech. This is a good one. So, you have been bestowed with the Star Wars blaster, which is the highest honor you can get
Oh my God.
in your field. Now, what is it that you're going to be honored with? And we got to give a 20-second Oscar speech, thanking people, and also, maybe explaining what it is this word is for.
You have to get creative. Ready, set, go.
All right, so thank you for this award. I want to thank Zach and Don for providing this award. I'm really honored to receive
10
it
seconds.
for the best nutrition
That's 15 seconds.
in the world. And I just want to thank my wife. See, I'm getting the award right
That's 20
here.
seconds. We're up.
This is-
And Angie saved you. She saved your ass.
I owe Ange.
Angie, as always, she saved your ass. Good job, though. I'm impressed.
All right, we will put the award back.
Put
That
the
is-
award
that is a
back.
good speech.
I'm going to roll it. Here we go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Other word for fart.
What's the synonym? What's the best synonym for fart?
Dutch oven.
Wow.
Isn't that a specific fart?
I think that's one where you cover someone
I don't
in that. But you know what? I like it. I've been using it. I like it.
I'm trying to
Breaking
think of
wind?
what else-
That's the first thing that came to my.
Use that. No, but that's your answer.
That
I think
works.
it's great.
That works.
What's yours?
I don't know. Maybe ass blast.
Wow, that's really heavy. I'll go with breaking wind. A little more.
Breaking wind. What are you, my grandma?
Pooter.
That's like a simple answer.
I know.
Pooter.
I was like, I just broke
You can roll the
wind.
next one. Let's see it land on questions again or pet peeves again. Watch. Early
Okay.
retirement.
Early retirement. Something that you want to send just away, like off to pasture. Like,
You said it's a word?
no, it could be a word, it could be a food, it could be a
be
type,
anything.
it could be anything. Like anything that just must be in quarantine, and then sent away immediately.
I'm going blank on this one.
What's something you want to eliminate? I think it's the best way to put it. Something you'd want. Early retirement means something you want to eliminate.
Yeah.
Something that really eliminate. Okay.
Mine's not very like sophisticated, but like
What's yours?
socks that get wet. Like if I have wet feet, my mood is just in the shitter. It's over. It is brown banana time for my mood, man.
banana
Like
time.
Brown banana
I
time.
just can't stand wet feet. I could deal with a sweaty back. I could deal with some bat wings. I could deal with a sweaty crack. But my feet, over, bro.
Crack.
Over.
Do you have one, or we got to come back to this?
No, come back to this.
All right, we got trivia. I got one. I got a question.
Okay.
See, we're very
Awesome. Good job. We're very quick.
What is the daily recommended fiber intake for adults average 18 to 50?
30 grams. But it should be actually higher than that.
Okay, I don't know. This is probably wrong because I don't even know, but it says 38 for men, 25 for women. Is that garbage?
It's not garbage. I just kind of go the middle of the road.
Why should it be higher?
Because if you look at, like, for example, there's a guy named Dennis Burkitt who was kind of the guy who's like the poop guy and studied a lot of indigenous tribes and so forth. And his theory was that the fiber intake was closer to like 50 grams, where they found that to be very good in terms of the bulk of the stool and so forth. And so that's where I say it should be higher.
We got one more.
I'm going to spin it. Ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
3. Big spin.
Oh, right.
Oh my God.
That was
Who
a good
you
one.
should
Very
follow but probably aren't. Is there someone that you at all follow and you say, oh wow, that's interesting? It could be anything. Could be a surfer. I have no idea.
The thing is, I actually try not to go social media too much. As you know, it can
Well,
be
it's
a
good.
black hole.
Yeah.
So I'm not really looking that much. I would say, I'm a geek, so
You love that.
there's a guy named I think I listened to his podcast. That's what it is. His name's Nicholas Hedberg.
Okay.
And he's known for being the thyroid guy, but when you hear the guy,
Is it Mick? Mick or Nick?
Nicholas, yeah, Hedberg. I think it's Hedberg.
Don's thinking of Mitch Hedberg, the comedian that passed away. You remember him?
No, I don't.
Don just blows right past some of this stuff. Don,
But
one track
I don't
mind.
follow.
But yeah,
I can't find him.
but yeah, he really knows his stuff. A little bit dry when he's talking and stuff like that. But like for me, just being a geek and being able to like hear about different like herbs and like autoimmune and like all kinds of other stuff, he's a really good guy. Really knows his stuff in terms of like if you really want to geek out on that kind of stuff, then he's a good one to look at.
That's the problem is that like these people that have really like they can educate you and you can learn so much from them. And other people are going to people that are more flashy but don't have the substance, and that sucks.
Right. And that's unfortunately, sometimes that happens.
Yeah, some
happens a
people
lot.
don't bring in gimmicks like the wheel.
That was it. That was our 5 spins.
That was it.
All right.
it.
So, Rob, can you let all of our followers know where they can find you and where they can find your book?
And when the next book is coming out.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Whole in One Nutrition. You guys can find that on Amazon, so you can get it on Kindle or paperback. And you can follow me, Robert Yang, on Instagram, Facebook, Robert Yang Inc., Twitter, Robert Yang Inc. As well. But yeah, I'm working like crazy on this second book. So like I said, the running title is Feed Your Game. I think is even like the guide to, improve performance on and off the field. So I'm trying to get that done within the next 3 months or so. So, but I've said that before, and there's always things that pop up, and so I'm just trying to work like mad as much as I can.
Well, I can't wait to promote it for you because, like I said, the first book was exceptional. Everyone, this is at Zraz Instagram handle,
At Don Saladino,
and Rob's Instagram handle is at Robert Yang. Yeah. At Robert Yang. Now, and I said this, I think you asked me the question of who is your favorite person, someone you should be following but probably aren't. You asked me a while ago, and who did I say?
You did say Rob.
I said Rob Yang. Someone asked, he was asked this question weeks ago.
Thank you, Don.
I did say, I love you. I think the world of you, man. One of my closest buddies. I'm so happy that you two met.
Me too.
Reps at muscleandfitness.com.
Yeah, you can write in, I don't know,
All the questions.
love sonnets to Don at that address.
I love
Go for
it. I love it. Very excited about this
Cool,
episode.
man. It's really nice to meet you. Thank you. Really.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
I'll give you a call.
Yeah.
Later, brother. Send my best.
All right. See you guys.